Before the world knew the names Usain Bolt or Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, Jamaica was already in love with speed. Long before the island became a sprinting superpower, a small group of pioneers laced up their spikes on dusty tracks, grass fields, and cinder lanes, running for pride more than glory. They had no sports science teams, no million-dollar contracts, no social media hype. What they had was something more powerful, a belief that a tiny Caribbean island could outrun the empires that once ruled it. This is the story of the first fast generation, the men who carried Jamaica from obscurity to Olympic respect. G.C. Foster, Norman Manley, Arthur Wint, Herb McKinley, Leslie Lang. Some of their names are remembered. Others are fading. But together, they built the road that every Jamaican sprinter runs on today. At the start of the 20th century, Jamaica was still a British colony. Life for most people was hard, rooted in the shadow of slavery and plantation economics. Yet on school fields and in local meets, something new was growing. Young men raced each other on uneven ground, chasing not just a finish line, but a feeling of freedom. Athletics began to spread through schools, teacher training colleges, and community clubs. Running became a way to prove yourself, to earn respect, to show that Jamaica could match anybody, anywhere. There were no world-famous stadiums, no high-tech tracks, just grass, sweat, and determination. From this humble environment, the first generation of Jamaican sprint pioneers emerged. George G.C. Foster is often called the father of Jamaican track and field. Born in the late 19th century, Foster came of age at a time when opportunities for colonial athletes were severely limited. He was a talented sprinter whose raw speed caught attention far beyond his island home. But when he tried to take his talent to the world, doors were quietly closed. The major British athletics authorities were not ready to fully embrace a Jamaican sprinter as an equal. Travel was expensive. Support was minimal. Instead of being celebrated on the grandest stages, Foster found himself running on smaller tracks, proving his speed in front of local crowds who understood just how good he was. Denied the international career his talent deserved, G.C. Foster chose a different path. He became a coach, a mentor, and an organizer. He helped to structure athletics competitions in Jamaica, bringing order and standards to school and club meets. He trained young athletes not only to run fast, but to believe they belonged among the best in the world. In dusty fields and simple changing rooms, he planted the idea that Jamaican speed could be something more than a local curiosity. Many of the stars who would later carry Jamaica to Olympic glory passed through systems and traditions that G.C. Foster helped to shape. He did not win Olympic gold. But without him, many of those who did might never have reached the start line. When Jamaicans hear the name Norman Manley, they often think of the brilliant lawyer, the political leader, the national hero. But before he was a founding father of modern Jamaica, Norman Manley was a sprinter. In his youth, he won the 100 yards at the Intercollegiate Games in the United Kingdom, beating some of the best runners in Britain. He showed that a Jamaican could travel to the heart of the empire and still cross the line first. For Manley, running was more than just sport. It was an early act of defiance and self-belief, a physical expression of the idea that Jamaicans were capable of excellence on any stage. He would later turn that same competitive fire into political struggle, fighting for Jamaica's right to self-government. In a way, Norman Manley's sprinting career is a symbol. It reminds us that from the very beginning, Jamaican speed was connected to Jamaican identity. Every stride was a small declaration. We are not less than anyone else. The track was one of the first arenas where that declaration could be made clearly and publicly. By the 1940s, the seeds planted by men like G.C. Foster and Norman Manley were beginning to grow. Schools and colleges were producing faster, stronger, more technically sound athletes. World War II had shaken the globe, and the Olympic Games had been on pause. When the world finally gathered again in 1948, it was in London, a city still marked by bomb damage and rationing. For Jamaica, these games represented more than just sport. The island was still a colony, but a new sense of national pride was rising. Sending a small team to the Olympics was a message. Jamaica was ready to step onto the world stage. Among that team were two men who would change everything: Arthur Wint and Herb McKinley. In the grand story of Jamaican athletics, some figures stand so tall they cast a shadow over history itself. One such man was Arthur Wint, a name spoken with a unique blend of reverence and affection. He was, in every sense of the word, a giant. Standing at an imposing 6 feet 5 inches, he was unlike any runner the world had seen. In an era of compact, explosive power, Wint was a study in contrasts. Tall, graceful, almost regal in his stride, he seemed to float rather than sprint, a silent, elegant force of nature. They called him the Gentle Giant, a man whose quiet dignity was as remarkable as his athletic prowess. His journey began in the quiet, rural heartland of Plowden, in the parish of Manchester, Jamaica. Here, amidst rolling hills and dirt roads, a young Wint showed prodigious talent. But the path for an ambitious young Jamaican in the 1930s often led away from home, towards the heart of the British Empire. When the world plunged into war, Wint answered the call. He joined the Royal Air Force, training to become a pilot. Imagine the courage, the sheer audacity of it. A young man from a small Caribbean island, soaring through the skies of Europe, risking his life in a conflict far from home, fighting for a mother country that still ruled his own. After the war, his ambition didn't wane. He remained in London to study medicine, a demanding pursuit by any measure. Yet, he somehow found the time and the will to train, balancing grueling hours in hospitals and lecture halls with brutal workouts on the cold, damp tracks of England. It was a testament to his incredible discipline and focus. Then came 1948, the first Olympic Games since the war, held in a London still bearing the scars of the Blitz. In this atmosphere of rebirth and hope, Arthur Wint lined up for the 400 meters at Wembley Stadium. The stadium was packed, the world hungry for a new generation of heroes. And among the athletes stood Wint, representing a small island with a big heart, carrying the hopes of his people on his broad shoulders. When the gun fired, Wint did not explode out of the blocks like a typical quarter-miler. That was never his style. He opened smoothly, a picture of calm control, conserving his energy with an intelligence born from his medical studies and his innate understanding of his own body. On the back straight, as others began to strain, he began to move. It was a gradual, inexorable acceleration. He started to glide past opponents with that long, deceptively powerful stride, eating up the track with an efficiency that was simply breathtaking. Down the home straight, the tall Jamaican in green and gold held his form, a serene figure amidst the chaos of the final sprint. He crossed the line first. In that moment, Arthur Wint had just become Jamaica's first ever Olympic gold medalist in track and field. He wasn't finished. He also won silver in the 800 meters, a remarkable display of range and endurance that solidified his place among the world's elite. But even in his moment of supreme glory, Wint remained calm, almost shy. There was no wild celebration, no grandstanding. He was a man of medicine and discipline, not showmanship. His victory was a calculated, beautifully executed plan, and his reaction was that of a man who had simply completed the task he had set for himself. But his victory was not only personal, it was a seismic event. It sent a powerful message to every Jamaican watching, at home or abroad, that their runners, their people, could not only compete but stand at the very top of the podium. It told young boys and girls on dusty fields and school tracks that their dreams were not foolish. They were prophecies. Arthur Wint's gold medal was more than a piece of metal. It was a key that unlocked the future, igniting a fire that would burn for generations to come. If Arthur Wint was the embodiment of effortless grace, then Herb McKinley was pure, unadulterated fire. Where Wint's stride was a long, flowing poem, McKinley's was an explosive burst of raw power, a testament to a relentless will forged in the heart of rural Jamaica. He didn't just run, he attacked the track, every muscle straining, every sinew burning with ambition. Born in the parish of Clarendon, McKinley was a fierce, all-around competitor with world-class speed across the 100, 200, and 400 meters. His talent was undeniable, a diamond in the rough that needed the right pressure to be forged into something brilliant. That pressure came in the form of a scholarship to the United States. He trained and studied at the University of Illinois, sharpening his talent in a system that demanded relentless hard work and unwavering consistency. There, he didn't just compete, he dominated. He became the first man in history to hold the world record for the 400 meters and its imperial equivalent, the 440 yards, simultaneously. He was a phenomenon. So by the time he reached the 1948 London Olympics, the first games held after the devastation of World War II, he was far more than just one of the most versatile sprinters in the world. He was the undisputed king of the quarter mile. In London, McKinley went into the 400 meters final not just as a strong favorite, but as the man everyone expected to win. The gold medal felt like his destiny. The world record was his. The stage was set for his coronation. In the final, he ran with his signature ferocity, pushing himself to the absolute limit. He blazed through the first 200 meters, building a lead, his powerful style on full display for the world to see. It was a brave, aggressive strategy. But on that day, it was his own teammate, the elegant Arthur Wint, whose measured pace and powerful finish carried him to the line first. In a stunning upset, McKinley finished just behind him, taking silver instead of the gold that had seemed a certainty. It was a brutal lesson in the unforgiving nature of sport. And it would not be the last time that heartbreak found Herb McKinley on the biggest stage. 4 years later, at the 1952 Helsinki Olympics, McKinley again ran brilliantly, this time in the 100 meters. He crossed the line in a photo finish, so close that officials took over an hour to declare the winner. The verdict: another silver medal by the barest of margins. He would suffer yet another agonizing near miss in the 400 meters. Twice denied individual glory, it would have been easy to surrender to despair. But in the men's 4x400 meters relay, Herb McKinley found a different kind of purpose. He produced one of the greatest and most heroic legs in the history of relay running. Taking the baton for Jamaica on the third leg, he was a full 10 yards behind the American leader. What followed was breathtaking. McKinley exploded down the back straight, tearing up the massive gap with a run fueled by years of frustration and a deep love for his country. He dragged his team right back into contention. His official split was a staggering 44.6 seconds, a time that seemed almost impossible. His courage and absolute refusal to accept defeat single-handedly transformed the race. He handed the baton to George Roden, who held off the American challenge on the final leg. Jamaica went on to win the gold medal, with Arthur Wint and Leslie Lang having run the opening legs. They had not only won, they had shattered the world record. After years of individual heartbreak, Herb McKinley finally had his Olympic gold, not alone, as he had once dreamed, but as the heroic heart of a historic quartet. It was a victory for the team and for all of Jamaica. Later in life, Herb McKinley would dedicate himself to coaching, guiding new generations of Jamaican athletes with the wisdom he had earned. He knew what it meant to come agonizingly close, to suffer public defeat, and to sacrifice personal ambition for a greater dream. He understood that the path to glory was paved with setbacks. His story is not just about medals won or lost. It is a profound lesson in resilience, selfless leadership, and the unwavering belief in the power of the collective. His run in Helsinki became the stuff of legend, a benchmark of courage. Every time a Jamaican relay team steps onto the track, they are following the heroic standard he set. In every golden era, there are quieter heroes. Leslie Lang was one of them. He did not receive the same level of international fame as Wint or McKinley, but his role in Jamaica's rise was vital. As part of the 4x400 meters relay team in 1952, Lang ran with discipline and courage, holding his leg together under immense pressure. Relay running demands trust. Trust in teammates, trust in training, trust in yourself. Lang delivered when it mattered most. For many Jamaicans, Leslie Lang's name is not the first that comes to mind when they think of track legends. But look closely at the history, and you will see his contribution written in gold. He stands on that Olympic podium with Wint, McKinley, and Roden as part of Jamaica's first relay champions. The quiet men of relays rarely get the spotlight, but without them, there is no victory. In honoring Leslie Lang, we honor every Jamaican athlete who did their job perfectly, even when the cameras were focused on someone else. The achievements of G.C. Foster, Norman Manley, Arthur Wint, Herb McKinley, and Leslie Lang did more than fill record books. They helped shape Jamaica's identity. In an era when the island was still finding its political voice, athletics became a powerful symbol of what Jamaicans could do when given a lane and a fair start. On the track, the rules were clear. The gun fired, and the fastest person to the finish line won. There were no titles, no inherited privileges, no formalities, just raw speed, courage, and preparation. When Arthur Wint crossed the line in 1948, he did so as a subject of the British Empire. When Herb McKinley and Leslie Lang stormed to relay gold in 1952, Jamaica was still not an independent nation. Yet to many Jamaicans watching, those moments felt like more than sporting victories. They felt like a glimpse of what freedom could look like. On that track, Jamaica was not a colony. It was a champion. Today, when a young sprinter at a Kingston high school sets their blocks, they are stepping into a story that began long before them. A story written not in ink, but in the cinders of old tracks, in the sweat of tireless effort, and in the unshakable belief that a small island could produce the fastest people on Earth. The cheering crowds at school championships, the intense competition, the national obsession with speed, it's more than just sport. It's a cultural inheritance, a legacy rooted in the monumental work of the first generation. They were the architects of this dream. Consider G.C. Foster, a phenomenal athlete in an era when the world was not ready to fully accept a black man as an international star. Faced with the ceiling of prejudice, he didn't retreat. He pivoted. He chose to pour his knowledge, his passion, and his frustration into the next generation, becoming a coach. This single choice planted a forest. The G.C. Foster College of Physical Education and Sport stands today as a living monument to his vision, the very heart of Jamaica's coaching excellence. Then there was Norman Manley, the Rhodes Scholar. He showed that a Jamaican could conquer the track abroad and then return to fight for his country's future in the courtroom and the political arena. His athletic discipline was a rehearsal for the long, arduous race towards self-governance. He proved that the mind of a champion and the heart of a statesman could reside in the same man, laying the intellectual and political groundwork for an independent Jamaica. And Arthur Wint, the gentle giant. He proved that you could be both a doctor and an Olympic champion, serving your nation in more than one way. Imagine the discipline: grueling days in medical school, followed by punishing workouts on the track. In 1948, he delivered Jamaica its first ever Olympic gold, a moment of pure, unadulterated pride for a nation still under colonial rule. He showed that excellence wasn't a single path, it was a way of being. Herb McKinley was the fire. He showed the world how to turn heartbreak into fuel. After agonizingly close second-place finishes in London, he refused to be defined by what he didn't win. Instead, he channeled that fierce energy into leadership, becoming the engine of the legendary 1952 Helsinki relay team. He taught us that a true leader knows how to lead from the front, from the side, and from behind. And Leslie Lang, the quiet anchor of that same relay team. He reminded us that sometimes greatness doesn't need the spotlight. It lives in the perfect execution, the flawless teamwork, the smooth exchange of a baton in a moment when the world is watching. His performance was a masterclass in reliability, a testament to the idea that every single link in the chain must be as strong as the next. It was a job perfectly done. Their stories are not as well known as the superstars of the modern era. Their triumphs are etched in the grain of old film stock, their names whispered in the halls of athletic history, rather than shouted across social media. They did not run in front of high-definition cameras or have their every move analyzed in super slow motion. They competed for the love of the sport and the pride of a nation finding its voice. But make no mistake, without them, there would be no golden age to celebrate. There would be no dynasty. They built the foundation, the coaching philosophies, the national high school championships, the unwavering belief, the very traditions of excellence that would one day support legends like Don Quarry, Merlene Ottey, Asafa Powell, Veronica Campbell-Brown, Shelly Ann Fraser-Pryce, and the incomparable Usain Bolt. They are the roots of the mighty tree. So every time the Jamaican flag rises above an Olympic stadium, every time a new champion is crowned, it is a victory they all share. The flag rises on the powerful shoulders of these pioneers. Jamaica's sprint story did not begin with a world record. It began with determination on rough tracks, with men who trained in the margins of empire, with coaches and runners who refused to accept their limitations. G.C. Foster, Norman Manley, Arthur Wint, Herb McKinley, Leslie Lang. Their names deserve to be spoken with the same respect as any modern champion. In the next episode, we move from pioneers to builders. We follow the athletes who carried the torch through the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. George Roden, George Kerr, Lennox Miller, Donald Quarry, and others who solidified Jamaica's sprint reputation. Before the world fell in love with the lightning bolt, there was a long road of sweat, sacrifice, and silent faith. This was the first Fast generation. Their race is over, but their legacy still runs.